Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. We have 3 great stories today, so I'm hoping for your likes, and let's get started. They're just sitting here. Fire them. Cast: young lady, YL, older lady, OL, embarrassed kid, EK, me, my friend, bookstore employee, BE. Little info at the beginning. I'm female, and since I was 14 years old, I started having trouble with people because I look way older. People were guessing I was 17 or 20. Also, I'm not real tall. At 13, I stopped growing and stayed at 160 centimeters, 5'2", I think. Also, my friend looked a little bit older than she was, just so you know. This happened a long time ago. I was 14, my friend was 16, and we lived in different cities, so we decided to have a sleepover at my house. Since she was only in my city a few times and only saw my house, she wanted me to take her somewhere else. I didn't complain. I wanted to go out too, so we went to the bookstore because we're both bookworms. So we were in the bookstore and I was showing her some of my favorite books and she was showing me some of her favorite books. Just chill. Then her smart brain decided to pick some horoscope book and she started reading about my love life because that's her only interest. After a while, I was tired from standing and I just sat down and listened to her. She apparently sat too, and we were just sitting. The bookstore employee saw us, but she was good with it. She knew me and was quite happy that teens still read books. All of us were joking around that me and my friend could take a shift at the store. We were expecting a nice time with books. Boy, were we wrong. After an hour of us sitting and reading horoscopes about our personalities, interests, etc., the group of 3 people came to the store. Both of us weren't paying attention to them. The worst thing was that the horoscopes were right next to the entry. The bookstore employee was somewhere in storage, so we were apparently the only ones in the room. That's when YL came to us. "Excuse me," she tapped on my shoulder. I looked at her with a confused face. Same for my friend. "Aren't you supposed to be working?" she said with a disgustingly sweet voice. "When you can hear how much that person wants to kill you." Me: "But lady, we aren't." She was cut off by OL. "OL, how dare you talk back to us with this tone?" She didn't scream, but she put some pressure on her words. Both of us, me and my friend, looked at each other with confused and scared faces. Meanwhile, EK was behind YL, face red from embarrassment, trying to tell, I don't know, mother, to let us be. He looked like a 10-year-old, but I'm not sure. YL started in again. "I want to speak to your manager about your behavior," she said with a sassy undertone. Then I tried to tell them again, we aren't employees. "Look, lady, I'm sorry, but we aren't employees. Problem is, I'm kinda socially awkward, and when I have to speak with someone, I don't know, my inner introvert takes control. So I said it to them, but apparently I said it with my ultra-quiet voice. YL and OL were by this time angry and started shouting us things like we're lazy and we should be working, etc. Then our savior came. BE came from storage and left with them aside. They thought she was going to fire us, but I think she just wanted to know what was happening and maybe tell them to act calmly. Meanwhile, me, my friend, and EK were chit-chatting about a book. He was cool. Later we found that YL was his mother and OL was her mother. We weren't talking even 5 minutes and we heard YL screaming through the whole store. "They were lazy. They were just sitting here. Fire them," she screamed at BE. This was the last thing she said before BE had enough. As much as I know, she's a sweet woman, but in that moment, she was angry as hell. I don't remember it clearly, but she was explaining to her that we're just customers and don't work here. We were expecting that would be it, and we could continue in our reading. Boy, were we wrong, but not that dramatic. They both decided to leave the store, but before they left, YL came to us. "You should be ashamed. In your age, I was already working and preparing for my wedding," she added at the end of the whole thing. I looked at her with my eyes wide open. My friend had enough of her crap and ignored her. I think she assumed that we were 18-year-olds. Me: "I'm 14 years old," I raised my voice. They both looked shocked, then grabbed EK and rushed out of the bookstore. Same night we were telling this story to my parents, and all of us were crying from laughter. Never expected to deal with this type of person in my life. Sleeping your way to the top. It's early December 2003, and I'm working in a retail chain store. The district manager for the region decided it would be a nice treat for us to have a non-denominational winter holiday party in a party venue. This included the employees of the 5 stores in her district, about 200 people in total. It was a nice gesture. We all worked really hard. still coming down from Black Friday. Most of the employees were doing 10 to 20 hours of overtime, which is normally no big deal, but during the holiday rush, everything's at a more frantic pace. We were all stressed, and it was nice to get a couple hours to hang out with coworkers, meet some of the people from the other stores, have a few drinks, and just unwind. Most of the employees were arriving at the venue straight off of a long shift, still dressed in their work uniform, polos and khakis. One of my coworkers, I'll call him Jason, however, had just been to a funeral for an uncle and arrived about an hour later than the rest of us in more formal attire. As chance would have it, one of the regional managers, district managers' bosses, was also named Jason. You can see where this is going. Sorry, no suspenseful buildup or shocking plot twists. Drunk people are amazingly predictable. People were mingling and chatting, introductions were being made to employees of our sister stores, etc. The beers were flowing, and as tends to happen, the room was gradually growing louder and more disorganized with every round of drinks. A very drunk young lady from one of the other stores, none of us caught her name that night, sat down with our group and immediately began flirting with Jason. Now, he's the kind of guy who gets this type of inebriated female attention a lot, and he'll roll with it. After a few minutes, he excuses himself to go to the restroom. The girl, not so subtly, staggers in the same direction a moment behind him. A few of my female co-workers look on, giggling. She's headed towards the men's room. Doesn't she realize that's the wrong door? She must be really drunk, thinking it was a mistake. I'm thinking, Jason, you dog. Having seen similar events play out with him in the past, she disappears into the men's room. 2 minutes later, she burst through the bathroom door loudly, with a shrill scream so slurred that none of us knew what she was trying to say. But it did get everyone's attention as the rest of the room fell completely silent, and all eyes turned towards her, as she's stumbling while trying to get her arm back through her bra strap underneath her now soaking wet polo shirt, which was obviously not going to work. She grabbed her purse and one of her friends and stomped and huffed all the way to the parking lot. We were all stunned, and the silence was broken by the sound of the hand dryer in the men's room, and then Jason strolling out, grin on his face, shaking his head. The official story he gave, to avoid embarrassing her, was that she was drunk and mistakenly thought he was in the women's room and not the other way around. That satisfied the curious onlookers, but discreetly, he pulled me, our store manager, and the district manager aside and gave us the real story in case there were any claims filed later. She had walked in and stood behind him at the urinal, reached around and offered to help. He suggested a stall might be a more private place for that kind of thing, so they found their way to the stall. She sat him down and proceeded with an awkward, drunken lap dance, taking off her shirt while grinding in his lap. The whole time she's talking about her bad day. She's gyrating around, rubbing his chest, thrusting her chest into his face, and all the while complaining that her manager doesn't pay her enough. He, as most men in that situation do, offers a few words of feigned acknowledgement. Drunk girl: you should tell that bee to give me a raise. She has to listen to you. Jason: I can't really do that. Drunk girl, sliding a hand down his pants to persuade him. But you're her boss. She has to do what you tell her. Jason: no, she's my boss too. I work in receiving. She's my boss's boss's boss. A moment of silence, then she's giving him a death glare. She pulls her hand away, slaps him several times on the arms and chest, gets up off his lap and begins blubbering incoherently as she picks her shirt up off the bathroom floor. He stands up. She's getting her second wind of rage, whips her shirt at him in anger, which subsequently landed half in the toilet. She grabs it, throws it on anyway, and storms out. Word got around to our store a few weeks later that she had resigned. At this point, everyone in our store knew the real story, but her store kept up the false story to preserve her dignity and called her termination a resignation so she could save face. Though the cover story didn't explain why she was covered in toilet water and was fumbling with her bra, I think rumors had begun to circulate on her side of town too. Rather than graciously accepting the cover story, she had concocted her own version where some sleazy guy got her drunk, she was blitzed before he arrived, dragged her into the bathroom, witnesses refute him dragging her anywhere, and he tried to molest her. Her story got more and more outlandish, filled with contradictory details that didn't line up with 100 witness accounts, like how he chased her into the parking lot. Never happened. She just wouldn't drop it. chalk it up to alcohol, and let it go. So I think that's the real reason she was let go. She just had to be the victim. But maybe she did see it that way. She was too drunk to really understand what was happening. Either way, Jason decided it was time for him to find another job as well. Not fired, the company had his back, but rumors persisted within the company. Plus, he'd just gotten done burying a family member that same day, and his workload was insane. He was just done with things after that. This story has stuck with me. I remember seeing this pretty girl throwing herself at him and thinking, "You lucky SOB." And 2 minutes later, my envy changed to pity and sympathy. I should be fired for ramming a cart into my truck. This is a very mild "I don't work here" lady, and more "I don't work here" man. I had gone grocery shopping and was taking my stuff out to my truck in the cart. As I pull up to the truck, I let the cart hit the bumper. All of a sudden, a male Karen appears. Male Karen: "What the hell? You think that's okay?" Me: "What?" Male Karen: "What the F is wrong with you?" Me: "Sir, I don't know." Male Karen: "You hit that truck with the cart. I can't believe you're so irresponsible. You should be fired for that." I realize he thinks I work there. I tell him a basic "I don't work here" and start loading my groceries in the back as this dude yells at me. I thought the dude had realized it's my truck I hit. He didn't. Male Karen: "That thing's a classic. I want to see your manager because that was unacceptable." Turning to him, because I don't think he heard what I said, I repeat myself. "I don't work here, dude. This is my—" "Don't give me that bullcrap. I want to speak to your manager." Then one of the guys that does work there came up. He asked if there was a problem. The dude started ranting at him that I scraped the cart along the truck after ramming it. He wanted me fired. The employee looked at me and asked if I was done with the cart so he could take it back. I said yes. I grabbed my last bag and set it in the back. Then I went and got in my truck, started it up. The male Karen's face got rather red as I pulled away. For the record, my truck is a mid-90s S10. Technically a classic in my state, but not what I would think of as a classic. Very rough condition. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.